it's a good opportunity for Garuda and for myself to share about some things about Garuda, because I know that today we have all this, all of you are all supporter of the aviation business. And I think, as you know, that Asia is growing, especially Asia Pacific. And I think it's been already shared by Mr. Maunu in terms of how it is growth. And I think in this opportunity, I would like to so-called talk about Indonesia, because Indonesia is growing, and Garuda is one of the player in Indonesia. If you talk about Asia, in all international conferences, you're talking about China, India, and Indonesia, and this region is becoming the center of gravity of growth in terms of for the world. So my presentation will be capitalizing on the market opportunities in the Indonesian sky. First of all, maybe since my salary is still being paid by Garuda, I gotta talk about Garuda first. Okay. We are a group, Garuda has subsidiaries. We have cargo. We just established an LCC, which is CityLink. It is managed differently, different management, but 100% owned by Garuda. Even I don't sit on the board of there. I leave it for them to really run it. And then we really fly in the same routes, because Garuda, we're focusing on the medium upper segment, and CityLink is a pure low cost, focusing on the low cost carriers. Low cost fares. And then we have Hajj Charter, which is, as you know, Indonesia, every year there's about more than 200,000 go for pilgrimage to Mecca. So Garuda and Saudi Arabia, we are transporting them every year. It's a really tough operational business, and I always say that it's even harder than the Desert Storm, in terms of transporting the pilgrimage, because in Desert Storm you're only transporting soldiers and they know what to do. But pilgrims, they are from the villages. Even some of them, it's the first time that they fly. You got to teach them where's the lavatory, how to sit, what's a seat belt, and all these things. So it's quite tough. But it earns us some profit also from the pilgrimage. And also we have subsidiaries in travel tourism, MRO, GMF Aero Asia, which is an FAA and EASA certified. IT, and then Abacus, and also ground handling, which is a joint venture with the airline operator. 83% of our business is still from the regular flights. So majority, we're still in the earning money from the regular flights. Last year, we carried 17.1 million passengers, 229,000 tons of cargo with 87 aircraft. Average age about 6.5 years, and then a revenue of 3 billion. And then in the last 4 years, we've been growing about 18% on a compounded annual growth, and with an 18% EBITDA margin, flying to 31 destinations in domestic and 17 international. So that's where we are. And looking at where the growth of the market is, and we've been transforming this company for the last 6 years until right now we are a listed company. So we have already embarked to the next stage, which we call the Quantum Leap program. This Quantum Leap is it's a must for us. Market is growing. If we've showed the data from IATA, it's either for us, it's either to grow or we will disappear. So we have no choice. As an airline, especially Indonesia, we are the biggest archipelago, 17,000 islands. Depends on high tide, low tide, but approximately about 17,000. You're talking about 250 million population, economy which is growing about 6.5%. I mean, all of us in this room, I think you all agree, an airline has to grow in Indonesia, and we have to make money in Indonesia. So that's why we have already embarked into our Quantum Leap program. I got some data, which is from recently, September last month. This is from McKinsey, talking about Indonesia. Indonesia right now, we are the 16th largest economy. So we are a member of G20. We have about 45 million members of consuming class. 50% of the population produce 74% of the GDP. And we have 55 million skilled workers and business opportunities about $500 billion. This is where we are right now, Indonesia. Going to 2030, it is predicted by McKinsey that we will be the 7th largest economy in the world. 135 million of consumer class, so almost more than triple, which is growing. 71% of the population and producing close to 90% of the GDP. And our skilled worker, more than doubled, about 130 million. And opportunities, businesses, about 1.8 trillion. So it will more than triple until 2030. So we have to prepare ourselves to do this in terms of grabbing the market. And it's not easy. There's so many things that needs to be done. But we are also, Garuda right now, preparing for this. And if you look in the number of traffic in Indonesia, a total prediction is estimated it's going to be 120 million by 2015. Maybe later on, Pak Joko also can share about the market. But you can see that it's been growing on an average of 11%, the market. And it will continue to grow. Garuda, year on year, we grew already 16% passengers until now. So that's only Garuda. We're not talking about the other airlines. So the growth is there, and you can see that it will continue to grow. And some data also, it seems like this region, if you talk about in the last 10 years, the GDP, the rest of the world is growing about 90%. But Asia Pacific, it's 136%. And then in Asia Pacific, there's 40% of the world's population, 44% of the world trade, almost 50% of the foreign direct investments, GDP growth, exports is 2/3, imports almost 2/3 in terms of the APEC area. So this is opportunities also for airlines. Our Quantum Leap program, I always say it's like this in terms of for Garuda. When we first transformed Garuda in 2000, and when I rejoined Garuda in 2006 until we went IPO, I always say that, most of you play golf, right? We were a 30 handicapper golf at that time. Being a 30 handicapper, sometimes they don't allow you to go into tournaments because you slow down people, right? We went IPO, so we are listed in 2011. We're an average handicapper, 16, 18 handicapper. We're not very good yet, but we're not bad, okay? In the good days, we can beat those single handicappers. The issue is about consistency and the system that we have to put in place so everything will go smooth. Our Quantum Leap will bring us to a single handicapper, meaning we have to put systems in place, we have to maintain consistencies, and it has to go in stages. Because running an airline, you're dealing with people. You're dealing with culture. We need to change the culture. That's what we're doing in Garuda, changing the culture. So before, Garuda was like a monopoly. Right now, we have to compete. So we need to bring all our people in terms of working very harder as a team spirit. We all know running an airline, silos is very strong. Each of profession thinks they're the most important. So we have a working spirit in Garuda, what we call one team, one spirit, one goal, in terms of everybody have to move forward as a team. So this is the plan in terms of the stage that we want to go, and each year we have a theme in terms of what we want to do. Whereas by 2015, we expect our aircraft will be 194. From today, 94 aircraft. So that is the plan. And if you look at the 7 strategies that we have, first, we'll focus on domestic. We will continue focus on domestic. Why? Because Indonesia is growing. Second, the potential of international is very big. As you see, the growing population, the growing middle class of Indonesia, they will continue to travel, not only domestically, internationally. And also Indonesia is continue to get more tourists coming to Indonesia, and also foreign direct investments, businesses. So the traffic will continue to grow. The third is the low cost. We will continue to build our CityLink. CityLink, by 2015, we target to have 50 aircraft. So right now, every year, they're adding about 10 aircraft. The fleet will continue to rejuvenate, simplify the fleet, and really have a young fleet. And our branding, which is very important, because building a brand takes time. I'll share you what happened when we first had our new aircraft. In the past, Garuda is always known, we have old aircraft, substandard service. So we started in the early 2008, 2009 to have new aircraft. And one of the first one is a Airbus 330-200 with flatbed seats. And we flew it to Sydney at that time. And what happened was a passenger who bought our ticket and who was boarding, it's an Australian, he went into our aircraft, okay, and he went out again just to check, is this really Garuda? Okay. So it shows that building brand, it's a continuous thing that needs to be done, which is also in Garuda, we are really continuing building the brand, because branding it needs consistency in terms of, so the passengers is already familiar with our brand. Cost discipline, we still need continue to be efficient, although we're investing in new aircraft, new services, we need to really to improve productivity. And last but not least is human capital. To put it in a simple manner, we need to have the right quantity and the right quality in terms of human capital. Next is the numbers that we plan. 205 to 211, our number of aircraft was 57 to 87. Average age, it was to be more than 11 years. Now it's 6.5 years. Passenger carried, 9.3 million to 17.1 million. Our production, ASK, from 19.1 billion to 32.5 billion. Productivity, this is very important. We always benchmark ourselves, each employees to be more productive. So we managed to improve by 70% in the last between 205 to 211. Frequency, as of today, right now we have about 390 flights per day. And the Skytrax rating, which is also a benchmark for our service, to become a 5-star. We managed to become a 5-star. 2015, we're going to have 194 aircraft. 144 is Garuda. 50 is CityLink. Average age about 6 years. Passenger 45.4 million, of which 29 will be carried by Garuda, and then 16.4 million will be carried by CityLink. And also our production will grow, and we will continue to improve productivity by investing in IT. What we do in Garuda, we always, every day, try to think in terms of how to improve our business process. So we have what we do, and what I told our team is, we'll make the business process as efficient as possible. You know, the only thing that we don't change is we don't compromise on safety and security. Other than that, we will try to improve it. And total frequency, so we'll be reaching about 1,000 flights per day from about close to 400 flights right now. And we're targeting for become a 5-star by 2015. So how are we going to do this? First of all, we launched what we call Garuda Indonesia Experience. We always ask ourselves, in any business, you got to be different. You really have to know what is your uniqueness compared to the other airlines, other competitors. And we found out it's being Indonesia. Indonesia is known because of its hospitality. It's known because of its diversity. And that's how we capitalized in terms of this, of being Indonesia. You know, we talk about hospitality, we talk about the culture, the ethnics, we have sauces, local sauces, traditional cuisine, you know, all, and the rich destinations. So we are committed to bring out the best of Indonesia to the world. So we try to get every masterpiece of Indonesia and try to so-called transform it into how we can put in our services. You know, the richness of the nature of Indonesia, the natural beauty. And then, so everybody who flies Garuda can experience the real Indonesia in terms of hospitality and diversity. We use the 5 approach, which is the taste, the sound, the sight, the scent, and the touch. We're not finished yet. It's a continuous ongoing process. But we try to put everything on those 5 senses to have the best of Indonesia. I don't know whether you have one thing which is very, every time that you come on board Garuda, the cabin crew will give you a welcome, which is like this. And after that, they will thank you again before we land. It's like this. That's part also in terms of being, you know, hospitality, thanking the passengers and welcoming the passengers. The food, we try to also give you a choice between continental food and Indonesian food. Even if you don't realize the upholstery in Garuda, actually it's a batik design, but it's only one color. We don't want to make it too colorful, otherwise you're going to get dizzy in the aircraft. So it's embossed, the batik, you know. So these are the things that we continue to do, and it's going on. What we want is, we want to make the Indonesians feel at home when they fly Garuda. But for foreigners, they will enjoy the Indonesian ambience upon boarding the Garuda flight. So even before you arrive in Indonesia, you will feel the Garuda, the Indonesian hospitality and warm ambience. However, all this plan, there's so much challenges that we need to face. One of it is infrastructure. I think Maunu touched base on this also, infrastructure. This is taken from the World Economic Forum in Global Competitiveness Report. They look at the air transport infrastructure quality, and there was about 142 countries which they surveyed, and they give a point. 7 is the best, 1 is the worst. Singapore is the highest, 6.9. Of course, you only have 1 airport, you know. So it's, you know, you should be the best. Hong Kong is 6.6, also one airport. Malaysia is 6, Australia 5.9, Thailand 5.7, but Indonesia is 4.4. And ASEAN average is about slightly above 5. Okay. Garuda, we are in Indonesia. This is one challenge that we need. We're working closely also with the government, supporting the government. Government has already embarked to a plan what they call the MP3EI, which is the master plan in terms of how to accelerate the economic development until 2025, of which most of the money also is going to infrastructure. 2 months ago, they've already did a groundbreaking for the Cengkareng airport. Medan airport is going to be open early next year. I think they're going to Balikpapan airport. Then Pasar is also, Bali is, going to have a new airport by mid next year. So these things is a challenge for us in Garuda, really making sure that the infrastructure, so we're supporting the government in terms of how to have a better infrastructure, because anyway, we really need infrastructure. However, if you look at, just to show you what's happening in our Cengkareng airport, we know that Cengkareng right now serve as many as 45 million passengers. I think the last year it's about 50 million passengers with a capacity of 22 million. We, Garuda, every day, we have to so-called tow our aircraft to our hangar because there's no space, So that's what we do. So that will require about close to 2 hours just towing it. So in the morning, when all our aircraft already flies, then we tow those others back to the gates. Every day we have to do this. But if we don't do that, we cannot really cope with the market growth. So that's what we're doing. And we know between 7 to 21 hours, basically the capacity is beyond its maximum capacity. And terminal is also getting crowded. So in the meantime, what are we doing? Right now we are opening hubs outside of Jakarta. Last week, we announced that we open our hub in Makassar. After Jakarta, Bali, Makassar, we're planning to open another one in Medan, also in Balikpapan. And so by doing this, we're going to park our aircraft in those cities overnight and build an operation base there. That will really ease down the burden in Cengkareng Airport. So because I share with you that 194 those are only talking about jets. We are also in a process right now of adding about 50 more turboprops in terms of for our CityLink to serve the smaller airports, because we see that there is smaller airports that needs to be served, shorter runways, but the market is also growing in that region. So right now we are also in the process of choosing which type of turboprops that we're gonna choose in terms of coping with the market growth. So that is what we're doing. Another thing is, premium passengers always needs to be treated differently. Although it's crowded in Cengkareng, but we managed to get a space to really isolate premium customers. So to have so-called like a very separate area, because they are the one who's really paying more. So that's what we do. And we're going to continue to build these things in other airports in Indonesia. So although the airport will be crowded, I was just in Makassar last week. They're already starting to plan. They just opened it about 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But right now they are going to expand again the airport, because it's already up to the limit of capacity. So these are the things we really need to put our heads together in terms of how to really give more convenience. So far we have also catered our customer needs and we enjoy the healthy growth. If you look at our operating revenue, in the last, and from 2007, we've been growing about 18% compounded annual growth. Our asset has been growing by 10%, our equity by 172%, and our profit has been growing steadily. Employees, our revenue per employee has been growing by 17% on an average, and our productivity has been growing about 13% every year in terms of human capital. Our revenue in 2011, we grew by 39%, and with an EBITDA about 525 million, so it's about 18% growth. And last year, we managed to make a profit about 88 million. And our equity has also increased after IPO, so that will strengthen our balance sheet and gives us more ammunition in terms of leveraging the company. Our key financial ratio is still within healthy. And if you look at that, our share price has also been quite stable, although right now market price has gone down. But Garuda, been quite stable, and some analysts are still looking positively about Garuda. Market share, we're about 28% in terms of domestic and about 25% in terms of international, but we've been steadily growing compared to the market. We've been growing more than the market, and we'll continue to grow. And finally, I think these are the things that we got. Basically, last July, we got the World Best Regional Airline by Skytrax, and also the Best Regional Airline in Asia. And in in 2010, we got the World Most Improved Airline Turnaround of the Year. But what does it tell us is basically the customers are appreciating what we are doing. So, that really gives us some positive, eagerness in terms of what we're doing. So we'll continue to grow. And as you know, Indonesia will continue to grow, and Garuda, as of today, we are still with our plan in terms of growing our fleet, growing capacity. So finally, I think, as usual, what we have in Garuda, we always say good is not good when much better is expected. So we do hope that by sharing this, all of you will know more about Garuda, and all of you will support Garuda, fly with Garuda. I think, and also invest in Indonesia, because Indonesia is a growing market in the aviation sector. There's not only Garuda, there's so many players. You can choose who you want to deal with. But I tell you, Indonesia is a growing market, and I think it's about time that you invest in Indonesia, or especially in Garuda. Thank you very much.